Welcome back, gents, to Mondays Down South. Really appreciate it. I know it's been a while since we've come out with a podcast, probably about 3 or 4 weeks, partly due to my fault with some work travel here and there. But without further ado, we are back and super, super excited to intro one of our newest guests to the show. He hasn't been on before, but definitely a good friend of mine down here in the Charlotte area. Robin Loza, also known as Ruthless Loza, one of the best, I feel like the best amateur kickboxer in the state of North Carolina at 155. I think in between 155 and 165-ish pounds.
That's right.
Without further ado, Robbie, go ahead, introduce yourself to the fans and how you been lately, man. What's been going on?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing? An honor. Thank you for inviting me. Again, name is Robin Loza. You already told it. Combat sports, something I've always been into. I'm currently competing right now. Had about, I want to say 20-something fights now in my amateur record overall. Got involved in it. Again, I've been watching it my whole life. Got involved in it when I was 19. Started competing at age 21. Been competing since 2016, so just been racking up wins. I mean, hey, hard work pays off, man, and it's true. It's definitely a commitment, definitely something. To be honest, even though you can be good at it all you want, it's not normal in the day. Fighting isn't a normal thing, man. I feel there's other things to go do, other sports to go do, but it's just a passion. It's just the adrenaline that keeps you going. Like you wanna. I don't know. It may sound weird. You wanna feel frightened. When you're fighting. I don't know. It's hard to explain it. But yeah. Currently competing. My last competition just took place 2 weeks ago. Did reasonably well. And yeah, man, I mean, here I am. The reason I like fighting is because it teaches me, discipline. I learned a lot from it, and not only about myself, but others around me. I learned a lot from other people, their background, their cultures, where they come from, why they want to compete, or even if they don't compete, why are they in the gym? Hitting a heavy bag. What makes them want to get physical with a heavy bag, or focus miss, whatever may be the case. What's their drive? You can just go join a regular gym if you want, but instead, you want to hit on something, you want to bang on something. It's like, what's the purpose of you doing it? So it's just, it's a good way to, communicate with people, make new friends, build a chemistry with each other, and just work with each other, bro. I mean, you never know that's the beauty of martial arts. Any martial art you get involved in, whether it's MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, it don't matter what may be the case. It's unlike any other sport, in my opinion. How you got team sports such as basketball, football, baseball, which is, I respect all sports, but there's something about martial arts that, that helps you, build a bond with each other. It makes that, you guys start from friends. Guys go to best friends, and before you know it, you guys family. It's just something about it. And I've competed in other sports too, but martial arts where it's at, man. Yeah, and it was crazy because you guys beat up on each other. You rough each other up. You make each other bleed, bruises, scratches, all that stuff. And you would think, it'd be the other way around. Like, nah, it's you, you just beat the shit out of you, but nah, it's really the opposite way around. You beat up on each other, and hey, I mean, you guys become best friends. It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Well, that's really hard to explain. Podcast. Really hard to explain this podcast right now. I know that we've sparred multiple times before at the House 8 Limbs, which we'll certainly get into. But I don't know if I'm ever wrecking you, but it's usually vice versa, Evan. Robbie will put a little beating on me, and it's always really, really good to go back and forth with him, trying new stuff, right? You're kind of envisioning some of the combinations in your head. You get really motivated. You want to test them out. But Robbie, man, he gets the better of me every single time.
Hey, man.
It's a learning process, bro. It's a learning process indeed, man. Trust me. You may feel like that, about me, but believe it, man, when I was coming up, man, and even to this day, man, and not just when I first started, boxing, whatever, even to this day, bro, I go to other gyms, they beat me up, man. They give me that work. So believe me, it's still the same way you feel about me. Trust me, I feel the same way about other fighters, man. Believe it. How they beat up on me, what I do wrong. Hey, am I doing this right? Like, trust me, I'm still asking questions to this day myself.
So Robbie, if you could walk us through this? We were doing like a little bit of preparation beforehand. We noticed that you were a WKA kickboxing champion in the Delaware tournament, and then you were also the IKF kickboxing championship in the Myrtle Beach tournament. And so maybe you could kind of give a background over what those tournaments entail and what your overall record is right now as an amateur kickboxer.
My overall record as an amateur kickboxer is 14-0. Yeah, about 14-0. So the WKA, I'm gonna start with WKA. So I won WKA 2 years in a row, and I won IKF 2 years in a row. So again, last year, 2021, I did WKA and IKF, won that, and then they did a repeat this year. WKA is a bigger organization, way bigger organization. You get a lot of promoters looking at you, way more promoters looking at you as opposed to IKF. You get a lot of, it's a good way, to have sponsorships. That's how big it is. As an amateur, you have people looking at you, sponsorships, endorsements, whatever, before you go pro. They really like you. You can, especially if you hit the big time. I mean, you have all these kind of companies hitting you up. But WKA is a far more competitive organization. You fight against guys that are ranked across the United States, that have 20, 30, 50 amateur fights. You never know who you run into. That's how serious WK is. IKF is to be respected, don't get me wrong. And you can run into, a WK world champion in IKF like how I did twice. So it's nothing to sleep on, but it's a good way to get your feet wet, get your feet wet, get your foot in the door, experience, your first few matches, build your resume, and then, before, you start stepping up in competition. That's my take on the IKF. WK, you find the elite amateur fighters, like they're up here. And then you go to IKF, you're like, the competition, is not quite. You can see, again, that's what I say, there's levels to it, because there really is. That exists. There's levels to it. But to be honest, but it's funny though, because last year's WK was a lot harder than this year's WK for me. I don't know, but I don't know if it's a lot improved, a lot within a year, or the competition wasn't quite the same, because last year I found a heavier weight class. I think that's probably why the competition was stiffer. This year I dropped down in weight. And for both WK and IKF, I dropped down in weight, and it felt a lot smoother. I'm guessing it's the weight class, probably the weight class. Again, last year when I fought, bro, them guys outweighed me like 15, 20 pounds overnight. And somehow, some way I managed to win the whole competition. But, man, I was small in there, man.
And so Robbie just mentioned Coach Ty, and we're going to send this to Coach Ty for sure. So he's definitely going to be listening into this at some point. But Coach Ty is essentially, he runs House of 8 Limbs in Charlotte. That's how Robbie and I met, doing the Thursday sparring sessions and stuff like that with the whole crew of guys, which they're all great guys. Now, my question to you, Robbie, is as you accelerate up the ranks, right? You mentioned you were 14-0 currently right now, and kickboxing champion in multiple leagues over multiple years. But you started as a boxer, and I actually think your boxing is the most sound part of your game. You've started to incorporate the kickboxing as you've expanded in kind of what you're trying to do and what Coach Ty wants to bring to the table as a Muay Thai guy, a well-trained Muay Thai guy. So my question to you is, as you start to get more of those promotions, right, and they want you to participate in those events, is Dime trying to take more of your time, or is House of 8 Limbs? How do you balance that structure if you're getting sparring maybe in both gyms and stuff like that?
I'm glad you remember, man. Dime, really good boxing gym, So, no, there are no, again, both gyms respect me. Both the coach, Coach Ty and the coach at Dime, they respect me. Dime is glad to have me. They're glad to have me there. And they can tell, like you said, I'm originally a boxer, and that's that's what helps me win my fights is my boxing. I started off boxing. Boxing was the first martial arts I got into. It's what I grew up watching, my whole life since I was 5. So, um, that's my main sport is boxing. So now I try to balance both. In fact, I balance both out, pretty evenly, pretty well. Both Dime and House of Eight Limbs. Again, Dime is more convenient for me as far as boxing. If I want to just solely focus on pure boxing, which I know is my strongest suit when I'm fighting against kickboxers and other Muay Thai fighters. Dime, definitely sharpen my hands up and spar. And again, there's a big difference, when you're just simply boxing and you're kickboxing and you're doing all this Muay Thai, you're throwing knees, elbows, all that stuff. Big difference. The angles are different. The straight punches, the combination, everything's different. It's not the same. That's what a lot of people need to understand. It's not the same. When I spar them guys at Dime Boxing, just working solely at boxing, I know my boxing is really good, but them guys, they remind me, hey, you're not the only boxer in here. I'm a boxer myself. And then when I spar, you guys at House of Eight Limbs, I can get away with a lot of stuff with my boxing because a lot of them guys, they rely a lot on kicks, clinches, sweeps, takedowns and all that stuff. That's what they rely on. They're not really much boxers, so
Right.
you can the offense and defense is so different. Between them 2 or 3 sports, boxing, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. So it's again you got to do what's best to your ability. If you're a boxer, then use your boxing to win. If you're a kicker, use your kicks to win. If you're a guy that solely relies on slipping people and getting a clinch, then do your best to get in a clinch. Keep your opponent to clinch as long as you can and get square as many knees as possible. Again, we all that's there's a reason why they say styles make fights, and that's very true. What I may do that may work against you and may not work against somebody else with another style. What you do, that same thing. What you do that works against somebody else, may not work against the next person or the third person. So it's like, again, adjustments, timing, all that stuff, finding your comfort zone, all that stuff plays a factor.
That's a good point, man. And Ev, I'll let you jump in. Any questions from you, man?
Yeah. Kind of following up on that, I was curious, like when you go into a kickboxing match, are you like, and we'll get into 281 later, but like the Adesanya, fight against Alex, like, are you focusing on your strengths or are you trying to take advantage of an opponent's weakness? Because are you going into it saying I'm a well-rounded fighter and I can take advantage of their weakness? Maybe they're a stronger boxer as opposed to not as much of a complete fighter. But if you have a stronger background in boxing, like it seems like you do, are you trying to take advantage of that more? I guess how do you balance your strengths with maybe someone else's weaknesses?
No, you nailed it. No, that's true. That's really true. Me knowing that I'm a better boxer, I'm gonna use that, instantly. As soon as the opening bell rings, I'm gonna use that instantly. And then whatever other opportunities I see, openings I see with my teaks, my kicks, my clinch knees, then I'll take it. But I'm not gonna try to be something that I'm not. If I know I'm not a Muay Thai fighter, if I know I'm not, the best kicker in there, then I'm not gonna trade kick for kick with you. If I know I can hold my own in the clinch, but I'd rather not be there because, my opponent may have a stronger clinch game than me, then no, I'm gonna keep him at bay with my jab, with my boxing, and take full advantage of it. Now, if I know somebody, brings good boxing just as I do, then a few other adjustments might have to make. Maybe I may have to, throw more kicks, throw the judges, hey, we see we're both boxers, but I'm in here throwing more kicks than he is. So, just to, show them that, hey, I want it more. Or maybe, I can press them, that they'll give me the round. Again, it depends, I mainly go in there, and I know a lot of people, like to change up their game plan, but I like to go in there and always do what what works the best of my ability, so which is boxing. So if I know that's got me this far, and it's been effective all bouts. So I'm gonna just continue to do that. It'd be foolish for me, to change something. Bring in another style, try something new. It's like, nah, it may affect me in the long run. I like to look at Floyd Mayweather. We notice he makes adjustments mid fights. If something isn't going well for him, he makes an adjustment. And I mean, hey, and then if it isn't working right, he reads you, he collects data, and then he exploits you.
Wait, no. So off of that, that's really interesting because as a 14-0 boxer, right? I mean, you've faced a flurry of competition, and when you look at UFC fighters currently, right? You just mentioned Mayweather. Mayweather's taking pictures, right? He's taking pictures of those first 2 rounds. He's finding holes that he wants to exploit in later rounds, and he's just taking pictures and really just taking a whole snapshot of what's going on. Now, in the UFC fights, you have a guy who's quite the opposite, right? Like a Michael Chandler. We saw him every single one of his fights, and we're going to get into UFC 281 in a bit. But, I mean, he comes full rock'em sock'em robots. I'm coming straight after you. I'm putting the gas pedal on. Now, in your opinion, Robbie, what is the better approach? Do you take more of a snapshot type of mindset to your fights, which may cost you a round or two as you're taking those pictures? You need to take a jab cross or something like that in the process before you start to heat it up? Or do you say, hey, I'm meeting you at center ring or center octagon or whatever it may be, and we're going to go dancing right from the start?
Man, that's a good question, man, and it's really not one answer to that, man. It's multiple ways that I can answer that question. It's because again, everybody has their own style. For me, for us amateur fighters, we only got 3 rounds, so we got to go in there, pick up the value, pick up the pace to impress the judges, to show them, that we won it more than the other guy. In the pro ranks, MMA, pro MMA, you got 5 rounds. Pro boxing, you have 12 rounds. So you have more time, to set the pace, relax, collect data, make adjustments. You got all these rounds. You got all this time to. But at amateur ranks, you only got 3 rounds. So you gotta go. You kind of I don't want to say you want to go. You gotta go guns blazing. But you gotta fight a pretty fast pace from round one to the last third round. So yeah, it varies, man. It really varies. And again, depending what style you bring. My style, I like to bring an exciting style. I like to, always entertain the crowd. Win, lose, or draw, I want to make sure, the people got their money's worth. That's the most important thing to me. Of course, I want to win, but I always want to make sure, people are excited to see me fight. And so far, everybody tells me, hey, and thank you for that good fight. Hey, I really enjoyed your fight. And it just motivates me, man. I'm glad, that I'm able to inspire others by doing so. But I'm more of an offensive fighter. But however, I am defensively responsible. I don't get careless with my defense. But I know the way I fight, I may eat a shot or 2 or maybe 3, because the way I fight, I do open myself up because I like to, inflict punishment to my opponent. Meanwhile, you may have a defensive fighter who isn't quite offensive, but if you get too careless or if you're too open, he will capitalize on that, and then you may be the one on the ground, or you may be getting outpointed due to the reason, he's countering you very well. And all those counters he's giving you, you may be hesitant to open yourself up. So,
well, you mentioned earlier that I always try to put a show on for the opponents, and you try to win it in the eyes of the judges. And we might have to put the picture up on our podcast at some point of you putting that dude over the ring, and one of your most recent bouts. But I'll turn it over to E. Any other questions here for Robbie?
Yeah, the one other topic I wanted to touch on a little bit with you, and you mentioned it briefly earlier, but like your approach to cutting weight in weight classes. Like, I mean, are you just taking fights where you can get them depending on the weight class, and it sounds like you're able to kind of adjust that, and then how does that impact your fight style? Obviously, I'm always blown away by these guys that are able to fight in multiple weight classes, on fairly short notice. And I mean, I would have to think that affects you a ton when you're actually in the ring, from a speed, from a strength, like all that. So
yeah,
touch on that a little bit if you can. Right?
Yeah, like 12-week camp. Like, how does that weight? That's a great question. Like, how does the weight come off? Is it supposed to be kind of like this chronological order where you shed 2 pounds a week, When do you ramp down your sparring? Yeah, like, walk through that fight camp for you.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's a hard fight in itself, man. Just cutting weight, not just a fight. Cutting weight is a fight itself. That's really rough. It takes a lot of discipline. A lot of discipline. I like to eat good. I'm pretty sure you guys like to eat good too. I like to eat good. But when I know I'm preparing for a fight, and I know I have to cut weight. Oh man, it's mentally draining. It's mentally draining, and it's sort of like mind games, bro. It's like you see all your friends eating. You see they ain't good. They want to invite you, play. Hey, you trying to go? I can't do it, man. I got a competition coming up. That happens. But no, what I do is to cut weight. I don't really necessarily put myself on a strict diet per se. I just cut in the portion of my food. I drink water like crazy. I'll drink a lot of water leading up to the fights. That's for sure. I cut all the junk food and the sodas. That I do. But as far as like being on a strict diet, I don't be on a strict diet. I still eat what I want to eat. I just cut the portion of it. Now, the week of the fight, that's the hardest part, the week of the fight. Because it's like, you're on weight, and you don't want to eat anything too crazy to blow yourself back up in weight. Like, you're right on weight, now you just got to wait till weigh-ins. That's the hardest part, You got to eat very, very little. Like, the week of the fight, all I'm doing is eating pistachios. That's all I'm doing. And drinking water. That's all I'm doing. Like, it's really rough. It's really rough. So, I mean, everybody teaches them. People think you have to be on a strict diet. Oh, you just got to eat, you got to eat a whole bunch of veggies and fruits and all, which is a good thing, but you don't necessarily have to do this. But at the same time, everybody's body is different. Like, I know, for example, some of the guys at our gym, they say they can't eat fruit during weight cut because it'll blow them up. Well, I can eat fruit and I'm perfectly fine. Like, I can eat oranges, grapes, strawberry, and I'm perfectly fine. It won't, blow me up in weight. What else? Or they'll say, that, they have to cut down the carbs. Like, they can't eat rice and chicken. I'm like, bro, I can't eat that and I'm fine. So again, it depends on your body too. You got to get to know your body. So, some people like to, be strict with themselves. I don't necessarily be strict. I just, as the weeks go by, I train the body. Hey, cut down the portion. Cut down, eat very lowly, and that's all it is. Eat healthy. I eat a lot of oatmeal. I see a lot of fighters do that. Eat a lot of oatmeal. Definitely helps out. For sure. But yeah, man, that's how I normally do it. And last year I was fighting at 165. I told you I was fighting at 165 last year, and every single one of them guys were bigger than me. So WKA last year I fought 3 times one weekend, and all them guys were bigger than me. And then IKF, same thing. Last year I fought at 155, guys bigger than me. So this year, that's what happened. Cut down in weight. I was like, and I was weighing in like to make weight. I was weighing in last year at 161, 160. So I'm like, I can drop down to 3 pounds or 2 pounds to make 158, and I'm okay. Which is what I did this year. And I mean, I still went in there with the same power, same speed, same footwork. It really didn't affect me. It didn't affect me at all. That was only 2-3 pound drop I had to, different. Don't get me wrong, it sucked, like I told you. The hardest part of cutting weight is the week of the fight. That's the hardest part. But once you make weight, you can eat what you want. I mean, you still have to eat healthy, don't get me wrong, but you can, stuff yourself, and blow back up to your normal weight, and you feel perfectly fine.
Bro, you're telling me that you were fighting at 161, and you're 5'11", like you're almost 6 foot, if not 6 foot, and you're saying that the people were stepping in, weighing in at 160 something, early 160s, and they were bigger than you, or these guys 6'2" or something. It's crazy how they can make that weight.
These guys were my height. Some of them were 6'1". Some of them were a lot of them were 6'1". I wanted to 6'1", 6'2". But yeah, I was again, and my body. I'm not the type of guy that who I can make weight, eat a lot, and I'll gain 10, 15 pounds overnight. I'm a like I'll eat, and I'll probably gain like maybe 7 pounds the most. Them guys, bro, within a day or two, them guys are back up to like 180, maybe up close to 190, bro. And it's like, bro, I went in there, look across the ring. I'm like, bro, that guy's too big, bro. Am I in the right weight class? That guy, that's how it is. Like, that's how it was. Like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
I signed to fight for 165, not not 180. Like, is this fair here? But again, granted, I got the win, so that's a good thing. But man, like you can feel the difference, and then and their shots and their kicks, their clinches, and like you can feel like they were last year. They were able to bully me around because again I was a smaller guy. They were able to bully me around, pin me against the ropes, clinch me up, kick me in the side to clinch, and also I held my own. But it's like, it ain't. Maybe I'm dropping down the weight to be, convenient for me. And this year, none of that happened to me. They weren't able to clinch me up as easily, bully me around, toss me around, grapple me whenever they wanted to. They weren't able to do that. And that's the reason why there's weight classes. That's real. There's weight classes for a reason.